All right, everybody, we're back in the Falcons film room, week 1 versus Tampa. We're going to be breaking into the run game because I thought, a lot of my criticisms last year, the run game had to do with a lack of diversity in concepts. I think they did a much better job kind of mixing up inside zone, outside zone, duo, split flow, counter, crack, stuff like that. So this film is really going to focus on why I think we struggled, and I really just think it came down to player execution. Because this first play, obviously it works out for us here, and nothing crazy on this one. This is just an outside zone insert. So you're going to see, all of your linemen are taking a step in a direction, and in that case, they're taking a step to the left, which is where we're running the outside zone. And every lineman assignment is pretty much, take that step and block whoever's there. And then Charlie Warner here, you'll see him coming in, and he is an insert player, and he's going to basically block whoever is in this gap. And then Tyler Algier will take the handoff. And I, typically speaking, outside zone, you can kind of tell based on the landmark of the running back. So if it's inside zone, you're usually going to see the running back kind of aim more towards the guard spot. If it's outside zone, he's probably going to be aiming towards the tackle. In this case, I would identify this as outside zone insert. So we'll slow this down a little bit. So you can see that wide angle. He wants to get to Jake. He sees the cutback lane, though, right here. You get Bergeron with a good block. I'd also like to point out you get Zero here, who works back inside. And Charlie Warner does a really good job adjusting his block and grabbing him here, which unfortunately I don't think Charlie Warner had a great game. You also have Lindstrom, the king of getting that second level and getting that cut block on the linebackers. He's very, very good at this. This guy is probably the best in the business at getting those second level blocks. So, right here, good block. Algier takes a little jump, gets a little hit, but in terms of the run game, good first play. All right, next one here, we get some crack toss to Bijan. Unfortunately, he's not able to handle the snap, and due to that, we get this tackle for a loss. This isn't on Zac Robinson, obviously. If your running back isn't handling the snap, that's on him. It's a good throw. He just needs to catch it. We'll break down the play, but I'm really just including this to kind of show that the run game, last year it was just a lot of outside zone, and nothing really to change it up. We did run crack toss plenty last year, but, again, just trying to emphasize that the run game itself had a diverse number of calls, and that keeps the defense on their toes. So, crack toss, what does that mean when I say crack toss? So the biggest thing to remember with crack toss is, generally speaking, a guard or a tackle is going to be pulling to the perimeter and kind of getting upfield to try to block somebody, and your wide receiver is going to take the edge. That would usually be the tackle's responsibility, and then the goal, obviously, is to get a guy like Bijan in space on the outside. They send Charlie Warner in motion here as well. Again, ends up not mattering. You can see, to me, that's a good toss. You just got to catch it. If you catch it, you're in acceleration mode, and Jake's out there getting to where he wants to be. So, pretty good chance that this ends up being an okay gain. Hard to know for sure, but obviously when you fumble the snap like that, it's going to be a tackle for a loss. Next one here, outside zone, Falcons staple run play. Drake London, Wilkinson, and Charlie Warner really do the brunt of the work here. Though I think Lindstrom also does a pretty good job kind of having to reach over here and sealing a little bit. But overall, everybody does a good job blocking this one, so we won't spend a ton of time on it, but I wanted to include it just to show, my goal is to show every single running snap we had, just, get people the full picture. So, again, outside zone, Drake London's going to kind of handle this guy, whichever way you get him. If you get him inside, sweet. If you have to seal him outside, that's fine too. Charlie Warner is going to come up here and work with Wilkinson on this double team, and then he's going to get up to 23, which is a great job. You're also going to see Lindstrom and Newsel kind of double team this guy, and 54 is going to, in my opinion, over pursue a little bit and not, show a little bit more patience. And then the backside of the play, it's just kind of doing their thing. Backside pursuit players are probably the least likely to make a play, so Jake Matthews and Bergeron aren't as important as the front side here. So we'll watch it here. So right here you can see Charlie Warner helping out Wilkinson here, giving him that block, and then he's going to get up to 23. Drake London, he sees this corner, really playing the outside gap, so what's he going to do? All right, I'll seal you outside. Tyler Algier, able to kind of get in this gap. You'll see Lindstrom here, along with Newsel. Initially, not a great angle, right? Defensive tackle takes that hard inside step. Lindstrom and Newsel will have to kind of get around him and seal, and they do a really good job there. So it's a good job by the offensive line. It's a good run by Algier. It's a good job by the perimeter blocking. Yeah, it was a nice play. All right, next one here, we get inside zone. I think Bergeron and Charlie Warner aren't able to win their assignments here like you'd like to see them do, and that ends up resulting in a tackle for a loss. I think the right side of the line does a much better job with this double team, and, we just, for whatever reason, Bergeron doesn't fire off the line and really doesn't do anything to impact the defensive tackle, and I think that's really where this play comes apart. So, off the rip, you're going to get this double team here onto this defensive tackle, and you're going to have Wilkinson dealing with the edge. Right here, what I, in my opinion, what you'd like to see is Bergeron really step up here, get this block, and then you have Jake Matthews here as well. If Jake Matthews can get across, you have the reach block, you can maybe get up to one of these linebacker types if you're Bergeron. And then Charlie Warner here is in the tough assignment of having this, reach block one-on-one with zero. And, you'll see Drake trying to get up there and get a block as well. Unfortunately, Bergeron just doesn't fire off the line. You can kind of see he takes this side step and then he stops. I don't know if he expected the defensive tackle to jump between him and Jake. That's not what happens. And opposed to having this nice seal right here, which then maybe he's able to come off and get 25, and we have this wide open gap in the middle. That's not what happened. Instead, we get the defensive tackle here. Charlie Warner's guy is able to close in. Maybe if this holds here, Algier's running more aggressively, and he's not going to get tackled by Warner's guy. That's not what happened, so we end up getting this, TFL, tackle for no gain, whichever one it ended up being. But yeah, to me that was inside zone. I don't think that was duo based on the assignments that the guard and tackle seem to have, and also the feet of the lineman. But I could be wrong. Duo, inside zone, sometimes mixed up. But to me, that was inside zone. All right, next one here, we get outside zone to Bijan. In my opinion, Newsel is the one who ends up kind of screwing up here, and I think Bergeron ends up looking bad for it. It looks like he misses his assignment, but I think he's not put in a position to succeed based on the play at the center. And I would presume that this is kind of a deuce block into Bergeron getting up to the linebacker after the initial double team. So, when I say that, what I'm expecting here is I'm expecting Newsel to come over and have this initial double team. And then after he has the initial double team, I'm expecting Bergeron to have to come up here and get to the linebacker. And, that would leave Lindstrom here responsible for this kind of reach block on a 96. But, he's certainly capable of that, and he certainly has the angle to do that. Part of the reason I think this is if you notice everybody's step, they're very horizontal. And then Newsel kind of takes this step forward while everybody else is kind of stepping, more horizontal. So based on those things, I would suspect that Newsel is responsible for this defensive tackle here. In addition, you can see Bergeron seems to be expecting, Newsel to take that step over here. And then he's like, oh, I have to help out there. Okay, well, now I can't get to my assignments. Now it looks bad on me. But I think, in my opinion, based on what I can see, that was probably more on Newsel than Bergeron. So, unfortunate play there. It's going to happen sometimes when you have a new center, a new offensive line synergy, but it certainly changes what could have been a 5 to 6 yard gain. I mean, it's Bijan. It could be a house call into, a 2-yard gain. Our next one here, we're going to see Kyle Pitts just not quite able to make the reach block, and due to that, Bijan's not able to hit the hole that he certainly is capable of hitting here otherwise. I think blocking outside of Pitts here is pretty nice. I think it just kind of throws off the whole run, the fact that we can't make this reach block, which, I mean, it's a tough reach block. The angles here, it's not easy. They're motioning Charlie Warner, kind of get an idea, and what they're going to do is motion him. He is going to be coming up here, inserting into the run fit, looking for that block, and then the biggest block of the play here is Kyle Pitts having to get in front of this player and try to make this block, and he's just not able to. And it's a tough angle. I mean, that player, he's head up with Kyle Pitts, so Kyle Pitts really needs to get out in front here and make this block. But it's just a tough block to make, man. I mean, it's hard, but I mean, you can see if we're able to make this block here at tight end, you have Bijan coming up here in the middle, and we're pretty blocked up. I mean, would it shock anybody if Bijan gets in here? I mean, he probably gets hit by one of these, two tackles. They're in good spots, the linebacker and the edge type here. But, if we can't win at edge, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get tackles for no gain. And it's unfortunate. It's a tough block that Kyle Pitts has to make. I mean, we saw Charlie Warner not able to make a reach block earlier. It is what it is. All right, next one here, we're going to see, in my opinion, this is a run that I think is more on Algier. I think if he, really is aggressive, getting vertical here, he probably gets another 3 or 4 yards. So I don't think it's badly blocked. Not every run's going to be a home run, right? But when you're making consistent plays and getting consistent, 3 to 4 yards, that's perfectly fine. I think Algier just, I'm sure he'd say it himself, he needs to see this cutback angle and hit it a little bit harder. So you're going to see same thing as usual, right? Outside zone, hitting this double team, get up to the linebackers after the initial double team, get up to the linebacker of the initial double team. Jake Matthews one-on-one here at the edge, and this is where Algier's, angle is. He's going right at Jake Matthews. I just think he should see this cutback angle a little bit easier. So again, we get these second level blocks trying to get up there. And right here, this is just me, but if you told me Algier just took this vertical right here, I'd believe you. Instead, he's a little bit, it looks like he's going to, and he hesitates, but if he takes this vertical, he's getting, he's getting out there 3 or 4 yards at least, right, you'd think. But he kind of sticks it right here. It's not a terrible gain, right? He still falls forward, but to me, that was more on Algier. I think that was a good blocking on the outside zone. All right, next one here, we get the Falcons running duo with Bijan, and really, I think we just should get a little bit more vertical push from our double teams. We just don't do that, and due to that, the read's not as clean as it, hopefully would be for Bijan, and he's not able to get much out of this call. I think, the bones of a good run here are here. We just don't quite execute the way we'd like to. But again, diversify the run game, right? We've called duo. We've called crack toss. We've called, inside zone insert, outside zone. Just different calls, keeping the defense on their feet, which is really what I wanted to emphasize with kind of this video because, Zac Robinson got a lot of flack for that last year. So what are we looking at? So general rules for duo, at least how I understand them. I could be wrong, but this is how I understand duo. Everybody's responsible to the gap to their left if you are running to the right. So right here, we are running duo right. So what that means is all of our players are responsible for the guy to their left. If you don't have somebody in your gap, that's a cameo from my cat. Anyways, if you don't have someone in your left gap, you are going to help with a vertical double team. So this is everybody with their left gap, right? So Jake Matthews here doesn't really have anybody in this gap, and neither does Noozle. So what they're going to do is they're going to assist with the double team here before they get up to the second level. Same thing with Jake. All right, I don't have anybody in my gap. All right, we're going to double team this guy, and then we're going to get up to the linebacker. And that's essentially, the bones of duo. Obviously, it's more complicated than that, but for my purposes, not being an NFL coach, but just trying to break into this tape, that's how I kind of diagnose it. And right here, you get the initial vertical double teams, right? We kind of have this interior gap that's looking good. It's looking good initially. We just aren't quite able to win for Noozle here, and then Bijan ends up tucking outside. Maybe he's hoping Jake comes out a little bit more aggressively. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know better than Bijan on how to read these plays. Usually you're reading the linebackers, and basically wherever the linebacker or the play side linebacker goes, you're going to go to the opposite direction, as with most run plays. But just not able to really connect here and make this play a little bit bigger. But, just diversifying the run game, different calls. Just didn't quite execute how I'd like to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Outside zone, Falcons running it, wide open gap for Algier, able to get a good 7-8 yard gain here. Just everybody kind of kicking ass on this one, blocking wise. You see Bergeron get to the second level, great. Noozle gives him a help. I honestly think if Noozle comes off to the safety here, he might even get a little bit more yardage. But yeah, hey, I'm not going to criticize a good play, right? So again, outside zone, everybody coming up. We just get good blocking across the board. I don't need to break it down 1,000 times, right? We just see right here, we get the pass off to Jake Matthews. We got Bergeron coming up here. Great. Lindstrom's on his guy. We get Noozle coming up. This is picture perfect. It's exactly what you want, right? Again, I like this double team. Linebacker over pursues here, which lets Wilkinson get onto him. Again, I think, obviously Noozle here would tell himself, hey, I probably should have blocked this guy instead. And then maybe this is an even bigger play, but hey, at the end of the day, it was still a pretty good run, right? All right, next one here, we get inside zone insert, and unfortunately, we just don't block this up the way we'd like to. I think, if I had to take a guess, obviously Charlie Warner seems to have missed his block here on kind of the insert part. He's supposed to kind of pick the most dangerous as he comes through. He seems to be going for a double team to the linebacker. Again, I'm not in the room, so I always hate, try to single out players, point out blame, but at the end of the day, we're trying to analyze film too, right? So, from what I can tell, Jake Matthews is responsible for backside end, and everybody else is kind of blocking to the right, getting whatever vertical double teams they can, blocking to the right. And then Charlie Warner here inserting into this gap. And naturally, from his perspective, I would assume he's looking to block this player or kind of the defensive tackle that's lined up over Jake. But he ends up kind of hunting for 54 here, which, I don't think is the correct. So right here, as he's coming through the gap, he should be looking to block the most dangerous man. So even if he doesn't block 80 here, I would expect him to at least block this linebacker. Instead, he kind of runs over here to 54, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I think he just he misses his assignment, misses his block, and Algier only gets a couple yards instead. So bit of a missed assignment there. All right, more outside zone here. Unfortunately for this one, I think it's more just terrible job by Tampa. We kind of get them here, and we have very easy leverage for Jake Matthews here as his edge player just jumps inside. So obviously, good job for him and good job for everybody else. But I think this is more just Tampa, trying to run a game or something, and obviously it works out to our advantage. Just kind of get him here. So, we'll watch it real quick. What I'm talking about when I say they're trying to run a little bit of a game here. So you'll see 0 here. Obviously, this is Jake Matthews' assignment. He's critical to this play. He's supposed to get outside leverage on this guy. That way he can run it outside. But when he decides to just shoot inside, makes it a little bit easier for us. And yeah, Jake Matthews is able to get the linebacker pretty easily. We get some all right blocking downfield. I can't remember what this flag was for. I don't know if it was on us or on them. But either way, I just wanted to highlight the run, an easy win, more on Tampa than us doing anything special. All right, next thing we're going to get the Falcons running some counter trap action with Bijan running to the left here, pulling Lindstrom and Charlie Warner. Bijan also has some stupid cuts on this one, so just, shout out Bijan for being Bijan. But I think this is, something I don't really recall seeing us run much, if any, last year. I'm sure they ran it at some point last year, but it certainly wasn't a common call. So, trap counter, right? Come down here with all of our linemen, and we're going to be pulling Chris Lindstrom for this edge, and then we're going to be motioning Charlie Warner to pick up this linebacker type, and then Bijan himself be coming across the face of Penix and getting upfield. And obviously, Bijan is an incredible player. Penix handles a kind of erratic snap, I'll say, and then right here, again, Lindstrom, this guy wants to sell inside. That's fine. We have Charlie Warner right there too. Bijan sees this. We get that second level block. Cuts back inside, gets upfield, makes it a good game. But yeah, trap counter, haven't seen that one in a while, so happy to see Zac Robinson kind of getting into his bag a little bit in terms of the run game play calling. Next one here, not sure if this is just inside zone or inside zone. Insert, Ray doesn't really do a ton to make me think it's insert. I think it's just regular inside zone, and he was kind of just a motion guy for some misdirection. But anyways, Bijan makes some magic happen here, gets skinny, turns it should have really been a 2 or 3 yard gain into a 5 yard gain because that's what he does most weeks. So again, send in Ray here in motion, and then we have kind of a double team here by Charlie Warner and Jake Matthews. You're going to have a nice one-on-one block from Newsel, another double team here, and then, Wilkinson's one-on-one there with the edge. And Bijan does a really good job kind of cutting this to the right as he gets up to the A gap. So right here, sees that, he gets this backside cut, hits it, gets really skinny, makes him miss, gets upfield, makes another guy miss. That's what he does. So good good inside zone run. Again, I don't think it's insert. Ray didn't really insert anywhere. He just kind of ran across the formation. So I think he was just more of a misdirection. Next one here, got to have it. Running some duo. Tyler Algier is going to put 2 guys on their ass because that's, what he does. What a fun run. But yeah, they're calling duo here. They don't really get the blocking they necessarily would love. I think Drake London does his best here, which I actually think he does a pretty good, one pump, doesn't really hold up after that, but he is able to kind of, get that initial pushback. So, again, if we're running duo to the right, everybody's responsible for the gap to their left. So, look for vertical double teams if there's nobody in their gap. Vertical double team if there's nobody in their gap. Come off it as you can. And then right here, you're going to kind of get this sort of a double team by these two. It doesn't quite work out great. So really you get Drake London doing his best here. Gets one push, not bad, right? But you need to hold up longer than that. Luckily, Algier's a dog, puts those 2 on his ass. And I think that ended up being a first down for us. So great run by Algier. Next one here, outside zone insert. Just Charlie Warner not being the dog we usually expect him to be. Last season you would never expect Charlie Warner to get popped like this by damn near anybody. He would be putting 8 on his ass, but just kind of a bad game for him. One of the worst games I've seen him have. And it really affected our run game, which is probably not a great sign, right? If Charlie Warner having an off game kills our run game, we got issues. But again, outside zone, everybody's coming up. We're getting these natural double teams, Charlie Warner's going to come up, meet 8 in the hole, and kind of get popped a little bit, which isn't what usually happens. Usually he's the one doing the popping. So unfortunate there. If he throws him off, I'm sure Bijan has a bit of an angle here, try to get vertical, but instead we get this kind of tackle for a loss. It's an unfortunate play. Charlie Warner not holding up the way we expect him to. I have faith he'll bounce back, but just kind of part of the reason the run game struggled. All right, next one here, more outside zone. Again, inside zone, outside zone. Easiest way to tell is kind of the landmark the running back's running at. To me, he's running at Jake Matthews right here, cuts it back inside. We get some good block, and he gets a good 6-7 yard gain. Don't have to go too crazy on this one, but it's a good run by Algier. Certainly, it's a good blocking across the board. They're inserting Charlie Warner as they tend to do. He does a much better job here, and is able to give that hole for Algier. Obviously, Algier's beating himself up, not staying on his feet, but it's not a bad run at all. So right here, Charlie Warner, much better job coming up. Same exact block basically on 8 here. Same exact block this time. Pops him. We get that backside cut. A little bit better blocking from the offensive line as well. And, we're able to get a good run out of it. So, same run essentially, just a little bit better execution. All right, next one here, we'll have some inside zone with a wham block by the tight end coming across the formation to pick up that edge. Doesn't really pick him up in that way necessarily needs to, but also I think Tampa was in position to make this a limited gain no matter if Charlie Warner really picked up his block or not. I just think it's worth mentioning that really it's just so rare to see Charlie Warner miss these sort of blocks. So, unfortunate there for sure. So, what we're going to see, wham block coming over here, responsible for that edge player, and then we're going to get this kind of double team, and then Wilkins is going to come out to 54. Chris Lindstrom's going to kind of get worked inside and have to pin him, and that leaves room for kind of 8 to come over here and meet him in the gap. So we'll go ahead and play it. So right here, gets him inside, right? But 8's pretty patient here. He doesn't shoot the gap, right? Waits for Algier to make his move. Again, if Charlie Warner holds up on his block here a little bit, we probably get more one-on-one action with 8 in the hole. So maybe this is a decent gain. So it's up to you how you want to how much you want to think that would go for. But I certainly think if Charlie Warner holds up a little bit better, we get a better gain for sure. So unfortunate. All right, next one here, get some traditional inside zone with Ray as kind of this insert blocker, and Jake Matthews, unfortunately, just kind of gets run around by this linebacker that I'm sure he was expecting to kind of go with the flow of the play a little bit more. Just did not work out that way. And he's able to get behind, and, it's a good play by him, getting that tackle for a loss. So, credit where credit's due. So what I'm talking about here is Jake's trying to get this double team before he works up to the linebacker, but 8 here decides just to run around him and is able to get in the backfield to Bijan. It's a little unfortunate. We'll go and watch it from this angle. So right here, you can see Jake. He's like, oh, I got to get my guy, but he's not going in the angle Jake expected. And then Bijan's not really able to hit this gap in necessarily the way I'm sure he would want to, which is unfortunate. So, bit of a miss there, execution-wise by Jake. And again, this is just what happened all day. I don't think the run calls were wrong or bad. I just think, we just got out-executed. All right, next one here could have been a real hitter. I think Bijan obviously just pushes downfield and does a really good job getting yards after the catch. But I think in terms of blocking, you see Jake Matthews and Bergeron here just kind of miss the pass off on the game Tampa's playing, and it kind of affects the angle Bijan has. So, they kind of just get us with the run stunt. It is what it is. I'm hoping as the year goes along, we'll get a little bit better with this. So, Jake Matthews on 0, Bergeron here, and they're going to do this stunt. So when he comes over here and 0 goes inside, Bergeron ends up double teaming 8. And because of that, as you'll see here, 0 is able to slip right inside. So Bergeron's 2 locked in on 8. Jake Matthews passing him off to Bergeron. Bergeron's not there, and then we get this in the backfield. Bijan makes a miss, which is great. But you can imagine if he's not there, then maybe Bijan's hitting this outside, something like that, and we're getting a bit of a better gain. That said, Bijan turns his feet, gets an extra yards after contact, which is awesome. All right, next one here we get Bijan hitting the cutback on inside zone to the left. Good blocking by Kyle Pitts and Drake London here to give him that cutback angle. They're sending Drake on this kind of motion, then coming in backside to handle that edge. I guess he ends up kind of hurting Tampa player. Hope he's okay. But as far as Bijan's concerned, this is just a really nice read. So inside zone, everybody's blocking this way, getting your double teams, working up to the second level, sending Drake London backside to handle 27, and then 5 is on Pitts. And Bijan will take the handoff. He sees that cutback lane, and he does a good job hitting it. So we'll see right here. Not really there, not really there. I mean, he could have maybe taken that angle, but he sees the cutback angle. He likes it, gets upfield, makes the guy miss, gets to about the 3-yard line. It's a good run. All right, next one here we get pin and pull sweep with kind of that motion with Charlie Warner. Just not able to win the blocks like we need to, which is pretty unfortunate. You'd like to see a score here, obviously, but it is what it is. Now, what I'll point out with pin and pull sweep is essentially all your linemen are kind of just either cut block it or they're blocking down, and basically you're going to be pulling one of your offensive linemen, which in this case we're pulling Bergeron. Everybody else kind of cutting down, and the goal here obviously is to win the outside with these three, and we're just not able to, which obviously that sucks. You'd like to win the edge here, like to get a touchdown. Obviously, I think we ended up getting like a penalty here, and we had the Michael Penix score, but in terms of Zac Robinson, again, just another play call in the books. Again, for the game, we had a lot of inside zone, outside zone. Varied those up a little bit by inserting players. And then we had, our couple of change-ups of the game, which that's really all you need. I'm perfectly fine if we run inside, outside zone 20 times a game, as long as we have, 6 to 7 runs of, duo, counter, trap, stuff like that, which is what I think we did this game. So I don't have a ton of complaints. All right, last one here, I'll just kind of let it play. You just 84 is able to shoot a gap between Jake and Bergeron and kind of get into the backfield and make this Algier run, go for not much at all. But I'll just talk about the game in general. I think the doomerism is a little bit much. I thought the offensive play calling was pretty fine, both in terms of play action, in terms of the run game diversity. I think just really we failed to execute, and that to me would be more of a bad omen. If we see Newsel, Bergeron, Jake, Wilkinson was actually, I think, pretty all right this game. I don't think he had a ton of missed assignments. I thought he did pretty well. I thought the pass pro held up pretty well. Not that it's in this video, but in terms of the run game, I think moving forward, we just need players to execute better. And obviously, hopefully, our aces in that front, Lindstrom, Charlie Warner, Newsel last year was pretty good against bad teams, not perfect against good teams in terms of being a run blocking center. So really just need to build that synergy with everybody. I thought the perimeter blocking was good this whole game. Even guys like Kyle Pitts were doing a much better job on the outside than usual. So moving forward, we'll see what happens, and hopefully we're able to get a win Sunday night.